Hey guys, it's Michael Lee here. Time right now is 6:30. Welcome to the 2023 SF Ultramarathon pre-race briefing. Um, I am gonna switch over to my agenda here. I'm just putting everybody on mute for easy management purposes. So if you have any questions, on the bottom of your screen, there should be a raise hand icon. Or you can also, in the chat room, I have my co-host, Kendall Young, in the background. He's actually monitoring the chat window. So if you have any questions while I'm actually presenting, go ahead and type that in the chat group, and then I can, after when we finish going through all the information, we will go back into the chat box to make sure that all the questions are addressed. In the meantime, that way I can move all the questions as quickly as possible without any distractions. All right. So welcome. Again, my name is Michael Lee. I am the race manager of the Ultra Marathon, or you can refer to that as the double marathon at the San Francisco Marathon event. Race weekend is 22nd. We got a couple of weeks coming up before we go time. I'm leaving my information, and if you receive any correspondence from me, you've probably seen a ton of all my email coordinates and address. Please program my phone number into your phone, particularly for race weekend. That would be extremely useful, and we'll talk about that later on, particularly in the event there's any incidents, if you get lost, if you are confused, or any questions between now and the race day. Feel free to use my email or phone number to text me, call me, again, reasonable hours. It's always dangerous if I put my phone number out there and then let everybody have free range at it. Somebody actually in a briefing said I was very brave to put my phone number out in the public, in the general public, but nevertheless. A little bit of background about myself. I am semi-retired. I do some consulting with the biotech industry right now. Hold on one second. And my boss is on the line, and she asked if I can turn on her mic. Let me find Lori. Here we are. Did that work, Lori? Let's see. Let me, maybe more difficult. Let's do that. Hang on a sec. There we go.
That worked. I just wanted to be able to answer questions later if they come up. Thanks. That's all.
I'm sorry. Say again one more time. I had my volume off.
Oh, I just wanted to be able to answer any questions later if they come up. I'm going to be on mute, but
awesome.
Okay. Thanks.
I think I have to. Okay. All right. So Lori Abrahamson is my boss. She is the general manager and a race director for the entire San Francisco Marathon event. So she has the final say, and if I misspoke myself, then she's the person to correct me. Anyways, I'm semi-retired. I work with the biotech industry, doing some consulting. I'm also the race director at UTMB Canyons, the 100 miles, 100K race in April, San Francisco Ultra, and also I direct a race called Golden Gate Trail Classic here in California. I'm also a runner, so I know what you guys are signing up for, and I've done some crazy runs myself, everything from 100 miles, 200 miles, all the way to a recent FKT, 320 miles up on Mount Tamp. So, all right. So just to keep things on track, everything that I cover is in the runner's guide. Everybody should have a copy of it. If not, that is available on the Facebook group, and you should have receive email from me where to actually get at the Facebook. We create a specific forum so that we can have a place where you can post questions, answers. Hey, I am looking for somebody running at this particular pace. That's the place for that kind of Q&A and exchange. But I do have a copy of the runner's guide here, and some of the information has been updated just from a timing. We're still making some fine tuning, And one of the key things that I want to point out is that the race for the first lap is going to be starting at 10:15 on Saturday night. And then the second lap, the major marathon, it's going to be starting at 5:15 in the morning, and I'll talk more about that. So those are if you actually got an email from our customer service team that today, that's the major message about some of the changes in times, or reconfirming the start time of the true race. So use the runner's guide version 5.2 is the latest one that we actually use as a reference. So it actually is stamped on the front page. Then you're looking at the right version, the latest version. All right, schedule. So on the website, under race weekend, there's a schedule of events. I would direct you to here for everything as far as coordinating BART transit, to parking, to shuttle schedules. If you're actually doing, especially for the people doing the relays, on Sunday morning, they actually want you to get to the second marathon. That's basically the place where you would actually, this is the place where you can find the detail. So again, we talked about some of the start time being 5:15 a.m. and I'll go back into more detail of that. Okay, so Expo on Friday and Saturday, there are two windows that you can actually pick up your race packet, and that includes your bib for the ultramarathon event, your race shirt. We do actually have some specific swags. You can actually pick up you get both two shirts, the full marathon as well as the ultra marathon shirts, and of course the finisher medal will be at the end. So when you cross after you've complete the second loop, you would actually get the 26.2 medal on Sunday like everybody else. But for the 52.4, the one that you actually completed 2 laps, you have to come find me. And if I will explain exactly where I'm going to be available on Sunday afternoon or Sunday morning, afternoon, depending what time you finish. But the reason why I need you to be connect with you at the end is so that I can check you off the list, so that we can account for every runner that is actually out on the course. That way, if we have outstanding runners, we will actually go find you. It's my job to make sure that everybody is accounted for, and I will wait for every single runner until that you guys are done. So we'll talk about timing and cutoffs and that kind of stuff as we progress. So if you, for whatever reason, cannot pick up your gear or your race packet by on Saturday afternoon, not a worries, because we will have a race evening, Saturday night check-in, both for mandatory gear check-in as well as race check-in. That's so that we know you didn't actually pick up your packet on Friday and then decided on Saturday afternoon something happened, or you don't feel well and you decide not to start. The secondary check on Saturday night is ensure that we know who left the start line on Saturday evening, to make sure that everybody is accounted for by Sunday morning, and who else left on Sunday for the second loop. So I'll talk about mandatory gear check. There's some specific gears that I talked about in the runner's guide. So I would refer you to the runner's guide for the specific details as to what are the gear that is expected that are mandatory. When you come on Saturday night, there are specific items that we're looking for: headlamps, reflector. Those are non-negotiable. If you don't have all the gear, at least the headlamps and reflector, you're not starting. You won't be able to start, and there's no argument of that, because it's a safety equipment for you guys running out in the night. We have secured as we in the past year, the Hyatt Regency has 2 ballrooms that we are using, called a waterfront ballroom. It's on the second floor, or on the main lobby floor. So when you enter the hotel off Drum Street, you need to actually take the escalator up 2 flights to get to the main lobby deck, and then there'll be signage that direct you to the waterfront ballroom. Be very familiar with that room, because that is actually where we're going to be using So this is actually what the room looks like. And I took a picture of this so that you can get an idea. So we will have that space. There'll be round tables in the middle, but around the perimeter of the room is where you can set up your own station for your own gear. If you want to take a nap, you know that you're going to be coming back after you finish your first loop and you have a couple of hours in between and you want to catch some sleep, you bring whatever gear that actually will make you feel comfortable to do that. So last year we had a person brought a very comfortable lazy boy chair. So you know, hey, whatever ticks that you actually to get you rejuvenated to go back out for the second lap. So this is approximately what the room looked like. There will also be fully hotel lobby that will have the running bathrooms, water, so you can actually change, bring in extra dry clothes. And I mentioned this main entrance off Drum Street because when you come back after you finish the first lap, it might be 3, maybe 4, maybe 2 o'clock in the morning, and all the perimeter entrance of the hotel would be locked from the inside. So you would have to go around the main building off Market Street, make a right on Drum to get through the main entrance. And if security have any issues with you coming in, again, show your bib, let them know that they are aware that we are actually having this event overnight. But if you have any trouble accessing the hotel, give me a call and I'll come walk you in myself. So Saturday night, the first lap will start at 10:15, and time limit is really up to until 5:15 a.m. That's when the second lap starts. So the quicker you finish, the more time that you have in between. So it really up to you. At a 6-hour finish time, you're looking at about 6.5-hour finish time. You're looking at about 15-minute pace. So remember, you're not running just one marathon, you're running 2 marathons. So save yourself, pace yourself, and so that you can have gas. And again, you know, last couple of years, the winner who go through the again, your overall time is lap 1 and lap 2 combined. That's your overall time. So our winner last year basically pulled out 3 hour and 8 minutes split, almost identical for lap 1 and lap 2. So it's pretty amazing that you can actually do that, especially if you think about it. You start at 10 o'clock, 10:15, 3 hours, 11, 12, 1. And that means they have to sit for 4 hours before they can go back out and be able to pull out a 3-hour and change marathon for second loop. That's pretty impressive. And and I'll come back to the course record time, and I have a slide for that later down below. It's interesting to see as over the last 7 years what the trend has been and how the record has been shattered over time. On Sunday morning, 5:15, it's the official start time. You cannot jump in or you cannot start the second lap. And I have people that actually was very confused and say, what do you mean I have to sit for 4 hours before I can go back out again? That's the rule, and you cannot start the second lap. Earliest is 5:16. The reason for that is because 5:15 is where the elite runner will start. So a minute, the elites jet off. Then 5:16, every 2 minutes, we'll actually start another wave until 5:30. I'll come back and talk about cutoffs in just a little bit. How many runners? That's another common questions people ask. Like, how many are actually doing this? Seeing on Zoom or on Google Meet, it's hard to know. We're at about 150 right now, and I want to say that in 2019 we have almost over 200 runners from all over. I had people that came in from Asia, China, Hong Kong, Germany, UK, Japan, that actually came around the race. And of course, 2020 happened, we all know. So the numbers are on the incline, and we'll have more. And this is, again, we still have 2 weeks. Last year we have a person that upgrade from a full marathon to the double marathon the day before on Friday. So it happens, and I have people sign up on the very last day of the event as well. So this number is not fixed, but just know that. I did some of the quick tally. There's 14 states, folks coming from all over. San Francisco Marathon is definitely a destination marathon. Many of you are first timers, meaning that you are you've done a marathon and you say, two must be better, right? So this is a lot of you guys. This is your first. I take my hat off to you that you're going for this. And again, you sign up for this because not easy. Anybody could do easy. You sign up because this is hard and there's a challenge. And when you reach the finish line, that challenge is the reward is something that you would never forget. We have many returning vets, and I say vets being that the folks have actually ran the double marathon year after year, and I've seen on the rosters that a number of them that are actually familiar names. So welcome back. There are also other ultra runners that actually have done different distances, and they're coming back to do this because they've never done a 52-mile road marathon before. So that's another distinction. So some of the international runners, we definitely have runners from Mexico, Canada, Japan, China. There are 3 from Japan, 3 from China, and a couple guys coming from Taiwan. So looking forward to welcome them back. And COVID is officially kind of over. And we're seeing more international. Some of these guys, I know the gentleman from Hong Kong was signed up originally for 2020, and he deferred a couple of years, and he's coming back to run this race. Antonio Morales, and I will point him out on race night. Last year he was 68, and this year he'll be 69, and he's returning. And this is his 4th year coming back to do this particular race. So I definitely want to give him a shout out for that. All right, let's talk about time limits and worst case scenarios. And like, God, how am I going to get this done? Ideally, 10:15 is the start time. If you come back at 5:30 and you just jump right into the start line, you are able to continue, and that's a 7 hour and 7.25 hours, 7.25 hours. I don't think you would ever, depending if you're really struggling in the first marathon, you might, hey, everybody have an off day, right? You never know. And weather has been, most of the years has been pretty good. We have had years that overnight that there was some rain. We're still 2 weeks out, so I will send out weather forecast as we get closer to race week so that you guys can pack and dress accordingly. If you never run at night before, you're going to find that nighttime running is not everybody get overdressed, and that's quite often. And night running it's especially around San Francisco here, a light shell would be perfectly fine if you actually throw that in your pack. You're going to be moving. So long as you're not sitting, you wouldn't be freezing for sure. The coldest part of the entire course is probably along Great Highway when you're actually running out to the turnaround point at mile 13. And we have an aid station there. So that's probably where you're going to get most amount of fog and marine layers and maybe a little drizzle depending on the weather that night. So I show this as a pace because at 6.5 hours for 26.2 miles, you're looking at about a 15 minute pace, 4 miles an hour. So if you run walk, 30 step walk, 30 steps run, that's an easy 15-minute pace. So that will get you in at 6:30. That's 4 hour and 4:45 a.m. And you still have a whole 45 minutes to turn over and get back out. If you do or happen to be on the back end of the pack, the latest that you can actually cross the start line for lap 2 is 6 a.m. Okay, so if you come back 6:05, that we have to really look at what took almost 7-8 hours for you to turn on to the 26.2. It might not necessarily be your day to go back out for more, because what's worse is that when you're out there, if you have to drop and now we have to either find your way back to the finish line to get back at your stuff, and a lot of road closure, so they create extra complication for extraction for you, getting you off the course once you're back out on the second lap. When you come back after your first marathon, we're going to be walking out to the start line. So the Hyatt Regency is right here. So we would be coming through out on the backside of the building. So Drum Street is right here. So that's the main entrance of the hotel. But when you come out, we're going to be walking literally across the Embarcadero Plaza to the start line, which is right in front of the ferry building. And then you guys could be heading out towards Aquatic Park. When you return, you're going to be coming back this way as well. And you're going to come across in this line here, there will be a timing mat. So we will move the start timing mat from the start line here. Once you guys all depart, we will transfer the timing mat over back to this side of just before Market Street in the plaza. So find that timing mat, because that will give you the end time for your splits for the first lap, for lap 1, for first marathon. And that's important, because without that number, we can't really add your overall time. Second lap is going to be on chip time, so you're going to be going through the regular course, and we will have plenty of timing mat to capture all the splits and data of, you know, everywhere from 10K, half marathon, so on and so forth along the way. But the first lap is important that you actually find this. And this finish line is also important for a second reason, and that is when you complete the second lap, the finish line is actually further down by Howard on Embarcadero. So you're going to go through the chute, you're going to go through all the volunteers will hand you a 26.2 medal, and you're going to go through the all the food and water and so on and so forth. You're going to exit the finisher chute area, control area, and you're going to continue walk on Embarcadero until you get back to Ferry Building and you make a hard left. I am going to be here. Now, during the day, especially on the finish on Sunday, there's going to be a lot of people. There's a lot of people taking photo. There's actually other area information desks all in here, so that there's a lot of people hanging out here. If I am not here, call me. I will have a couple of helpers that are actually working with me. I might be actually back up at the hotel for whatever reason, tending to other issues. I will have radios on me, and they can find me, and I will come down, and I want to make sure that you see me, so that I can hand you a medal, take a photo for you, give you a hug, and check you off the list. That's vitally important. Do not exit. And if you decided for whatever reason out on the second loop, something happened, and you decided to, hey, I'm just going to take an Uber home, you need to give me a call to make sure that I can account for you, for your whereabouts, and check you off the list, because I'm not going to sleep until everybody is actually back and finished. Couple of years, I think in 2018, there was a young fellow that he showed up at 4 p.m. The finish line arch was down. He called me and multiple times that he is still on his way back, ensuring that I am checking, and I waited for him, and I personally hand him a medal. There's no, if you're coming back, I will wait for you to make sure that you're done.
Sorry, Michael. Also, the info tent and all of that has moved, so we're on Harry Bridges now. We're not in the plaza. So if your runners come back and can't find you, Marie will be at the info tent. She will also be able to assist your runners, just as a backup, just so you know, she's ready to help.
I'm sorry. So the info tent is actually on this side further.
See where your the light green start is? That's where everything will be this year. They call that, yeah, they call that Island Harry Bridges. And so that's where we'll be. Yeah.
Okay, excellent. So I'd just be right across from that anyways. That's where the finish line. You have my phone number, so at the very worst case, you can definitely give me a call if I'm not easily visible. I'll be walking around with a cowboy hat, so it's pretty hard to miss.
You may ask Nanette to move the timing mat onto Harry Bridges, so when your runners come back through, they can just cross over the timing mat there near the info tent. That might solve some of the problem. We can talk about it later, but
sure. Okay. But for the nighttime as well, because they are going to be heading back towards
no, for the second loop, if you want them to cross that timing mat, just so you know they came back, we can do that.
Got it.
Yeah. We can talk about that offline though. Sorry.
Sure. All right. So we talked about the elite waves starting 5:16, and then every two minutes. Cutoff is 6 hours for the second marathon, and the reason for that is because we have to reopen the course to the public. So if you, for whatever reason, say at 10 a.m. you realize that I am just walking and I still got another 15 miles to get back, or whatever distance, and you're not going to make 11:15 back to the finish line, give me a call. Give me your bib number so that I know who is actually still out there and making their way in. And I will keep a tally of all the people that are actually still on inbound, so that when you finish, you finish when you finish. Okay. We talked about lab 1 and 2. Good time to practice your negative split. So again, 12 hours to expect to finish a road marathon. It's hard, and so we recognize that as far as timing wise, and especially if this is your first marathon, you got to actually go through your race. Don't really start until you get to mile 40. So first marathon, and you sit, especially with that gap in between. Those are the variables that you sign up for. So we're not making it any harder, but that's the reality of the race that you have actually signed up to do. So we talked about you cannot start any earlier than 5:16 because the first wave is only for elite, and then you cannot start after 6 a.m. So that's important. Ultra Lounge, I talked about you can put your value, you can put your stuff there, but nothing valuable. If you have to, where the room, it's going to be in and out with people, especially during the second day on Sunday. We can close the door, but it's not. I cannot assure that the room is not monitored. There's restroom in the hotel at around 3 a.m. We're going to start serving food, so some toast, oatmeal, fruit, and lots of coffee and tea, plenty of things. And if you have any special dietary preference or things that would help you recovery drink, for example, bring a cooler so that you can actually have your own stuff that actually would work best for you. Okay. We talk about the reentry point back to the hotel. The course, there is this is not a trail race, so there's no mountain lions and all the other variables, but you're running at night, so you never know what you're going to be accounting for. For the first lap, you should not be on the Golden Gate Bridge. There is a gate on the south side of the bridge, and if you somehow manage to get on the bridge, you're definitely going the wrong way. I have actually created this what we call Run Go, and the map is available on the race website as well. So you can go, if you go into the Ultra, the maps is listed on here with the outline, as well as a detailed PDF that you can actually take a look with elevation as such. But in the runner's guide, as well as the email that I'm going to be sending you, is a link to something called Run Go, and that looks like this. And this is actually an app that allows you to download on your phone. It's entirely free. What nice about this is that it gives you a kind of like a Google Map equivalent, so that it will talk to you. So once you start running, and especially for the international runners or folks that are from out of state that you're not familiar, navigating around some of the neighborhood area, once we get into residential, I mean, we try to make the night course as straightforward, as out and back as possible. But again, we are putting signage out in public space without closing the course, so people can turn an arrow from left, going instead of turning right to turn left. We can't control that, so it's your responsibility to always know where you are, and having a map, having an app like this to talk to you and say, in 90 yards, make a left turn on 27th Street. That's useful heads up information, and you don't even have to pull it out of your pack. You can just have that on you and just have it talk to you and announce the turn that is coming up ahead. The only thing that actually out of this map that I want to talk a little bit about is the turnaround here. So as you come out the start, so we're downtown here at the Ferry Building, and we pretty much run along the Embarcadero, along the waterfront. All of this is very straightforward. You're going to come to a section down here near Chrissy Field at the end, an area called Hopper's Hand, and this is a turnaround, sort of a dead end. So you're running along here, you come into this building where there's washrooms, and it's called Warming Hut, and you run past that. At the end of that, you'll see a plaque on the fence that actually, with the two hands, and if you don't know the history, please look up Hopper Hands and Golden Gate Bridge, and you'll get all about that. So when you come through here the first time on the outbound, you will hit that Hopper Hand sign, and then you come back, retrace past the the warming hut, and then you'll go to up Long Avenue, and then make a hard right onto this little bike path, Battery East Trail. So that's pretty straightforward on the outbound, and there will be signage that actually marked what that looks like. However, on the return, it is necessary. I want to point out that when you come back, so after you do all of this out and back, hit the turnaround point here up in Great Highway, and this is Vicente, that where we actually have an 8-station to turn around right here. When you actually make your way back, when you come back through Long Avenue, you need to go back and hit Hopper Hands a second time. And there was some confusion in prior year that because, oh, when you get down here, you just make a right and then just cut out this extra bit here, you're going to be about a mile short of the 26.2. So just be aware that that actually is a double out and back on both the outbound as well as the return. You're going to need to hit that twice. Otherwise, you will be short on the first marathon. The second marathon is basically the regular day, and this is you get to go around the entire city across the Golden Gate Bridge and come back from the Sausalito side. So this part is pretty straightforward. Every couple of miles, there'd be an 8-station with water and electrolytes that you can actually refill. So that you shouldn't get lost on the second day. If you get lost, that would be your fault. All right. So elevation profile, people always ask about that. On the outbound is pretty, because there's a climb up to Lincoln. So there is actually an initial, this is basically the reverse map of this. So the total elevation is about 1,000 feet. The second lap, however, is about 1,700. So you actually have a little bit cumulatively more climbs in general in the second lap than the first lap. So the first lap is a pretty straightforward out and back. Safety. Let's talk about that. We definitely make that our first priority above everything else. So because you guys are actually out running in the nighttime, I want to make sure that everybody is aware. If you're responsible for your own safety, be alert, be vigilant about, if you actually, see something that is not right, speak up or at least call somebody. But running in a buddy system it works, especially if you're not from around here or you feel uncomfortable running at night. This is the first time all your marathons always during the day, and this is the first time. I know it can actually get a little nervous for that. We will, before at the race check-in, I'm going to actually point out all the folks that are actually returning runners, as well as calling out what their goal time. If somebody's aiming for 3 hours, you probably don't, and your finish time is thinking about 5. We'll get you match up with the right group, 3, 4, 5, 6 hours, so that people can actually just associate some faces together. Don't assume that the person in front of you know where they're going. That's the worst thing. And again, use your device to figure out where you need to go. And in here, in the runner's guide, I've also included some videos for Run Go. So on page 6, if you click on these links, it'll take you to YouTube and kind of give you a tutorial what Run Goes, how to work it, and check it out, play with it before the race evening. I know it's a lot to ask, but hey, if you're actually not from around here, download it, make a little route for yourself, and make sure that you know how to interact with the interface before race day itself. There are 3 things that we are mandatory that we're going to look for at the check-in. One is a reflector, and I have one here. And again, it doesn't have to be anything fancy. This one has to be a light one from Nathan. But can you guys see? Yeah. So something like this that you can actually just throw over your shoulders. In the runner's guide, I also put in a list of, if you're looking for reflectors, everything from $4 to $25 from Amazon. So these are all links that you can actually get at. Please don't argue, show up and I didn't know. This reflector it's absolutely a required gear, because once you're out, especially if you're wearing like jackets and not bright colors at night, it's really hard for people for motorists to see you, and they're not expecting a bunch of people running at nighttime. Headlamps, something that it's minimum 350 lumens is what we actually asking, but This is actually $90, and it's like 1,000 lumens here. Super, super, super bright. I have two lamps. This is actually a waist lamp, and particularly if you actually get into a foggy area, waist lamp actually point at your light lower, and so it's not actually at head eye level, and your headlamp tend to pick up more of the black back scatter from the fog, and then you see all particles, and it's just not actually helping where your feet planting. Most of the most of the course is on asphalt, except that on Great Highway, the section on the out and back, this part back here, and for those of you not run the course, this part is actually on a bike trail that might not be bumpy, and the lighting is very, very limited on this section. So this is the only portion that potentially that there might be some uneven ground that you might actually get clipped over. So again, a good lighting system is going to be extremely useful for you staying upright and seeing what's around you. Cell phone, again, in the runner's guide, I talked about my phone number. If there's extreme emergency, don't call me, call 911 if you're in danger or anything like that. But secondary person should be me to contact so that we can be aware and we can dispatch appropriate help to come find you and to assist you. I've had people that actually gone off course for whatever reason. And that's also, I'm the contact because I run quite a bit around the entire course. So I should be able to figure out where you are based on location and redirect you back to rejoin the course and get back to the finish line. So Run Go, again, we talked about the Run Go map. If it's your first time running at night, find a buddy. It's really going to be useful. We have 8 bike marshals that are actually going to be flanking the entire course or entire congregations during the night. So 2 of the bikes are going to be following the lead runners. We have 6 bikes that are actually going to be one pair will be following the last runners, and then 2 pairs that will actually go between the mid and back of the pack. So they would actually be rolling back and forth to make sure that we are keeping an eye on who's actually still out there. So stay close to the bike marshals. If you're actually not familiar with, just keep one of them in sight, and that's usually it's a safe route.
Michael, I have a question. Do you try to pair up runners based on their pace time? I know that was something we tried to do a few years back before you joined us, or does it just sort of organically happen? People group together?
I typically make an announcement as to the 4 hours and 5 hours. The 3 hour people would just be in front anyways. But it's really really between a 4 to 6 hour time frame that folks would kind of gather together. And most of them actually end up coming back in a pack. So it worked well in the last couple of years. So I think that system would probably what we're going to be keep doing, unless there's some folks that actually have specific needs. Then reach out to me, and we can certainly make sure that we find you a buddy that will keep you company.
Also, I just wanted to mention that if anybody who is running has a need for a guide, we can provide a guide bib. It just won't have a timing chip. So if you do need a guide, the guide bibs are available. I'm not sure if that's come up at all with this group, but that's also available.
Excellent.
Okay.
When you're on the road, there are a couple of turns, like for example, in the residential area here, and again, stay on the sidewalk as is what we recommend. But if you're running along a road, we prefer you to run against traffic. So that way you actually have visual of oncoming traffic as opposed to have vehicles coming behind you. You don't have eyes behind you, and your lighting is much more visible to the driver as you're running in towards them, as opposed to if you didn't have a blinker. So something like this that you can actually put on the back of your headlamp strap, right? Then it's very, very difficult. All the lighting is pointing forward. So run against traffic or towards traffic, so that way, if for whatever reason the motorist is not paying attention, you can get out of the way, right? The only exception is that when you're on a return, this is basically when you're coming back oops, too far. When you are coming back on Embarcadero, so instead of running on the opposite side of the road, like the again into traffic, we want you to come back the same way that you went out. That's the only exception there. Our crew make a very hard effort to make sure that the signage it's out there and it makes sense. Most of them are runners themselves, so they're very good as far as trying to make sure that the signage makes sense, but we cannot prevent vandalism from happening, and that have happened before. And should you actually discover, hey, signage has been removed or pointing the wrong direction, it's not matching what the route, call me and let me know so we can get people to go out there and fix that. But in the guide, I think, yeah, there. So most of the signage will look kind of like this, that actually have SF Marathon, Ultra, and either pointing out left or right, meaning going straight. So that's these are all reflective. So when you actually your headlamp shine at it, they should be very, very obvious for you to see them. Aid stations. So we have four aid stations, but essentially two when you think about it. The aid stations are at. The aid stations are at Presidio when you first come up about 7.5 miles. And the reason why these mileage is useful is because of distance. So because even on the nighttime, we're going to be providing you with support, especially the nighttime marathon. You're never more than 6 and change miles from the next aid station. So, and I point this out because there really shouldn't be any need for you to carry a 2-liter bladder because you can refill. So a quick handheld like this is way easier to refill, and you would never drink. And also when you have a bladder, it's hard for you to know how much water you have drank. So something like this is actually way easier. A bottle like this is 20 fluid ounce, and that should easily last you 500 milliliters, or 17 fluid ounce should last you easily 6 miles. And particularly in the evening when it's not hot, you shouldn't actually have any trouble covering enough water. If you worry, bring two, one for electrolyte, one for water, and you should never actually run out. So just point that out. Then that way it offload. Carrying a 2-liter bladder on your back is, especially first timer thinking that I'm going out to do an ultra marathon, but really you're actually doing short distance, 6 miles at a time before you get aid. So the Presidio aid stations will actually double up. You hit the Vicente turnaround, and when you get back to Presidio, you'll hit that a second time before the Ultra Lounge being your final checkpoint. So when you get back to the finish line and you head back up to the hotel, you can restock. But if you have specific things like you have your own electrolytes that you use and you don't want to use any of our stuff, that's totally fine. But just make sure that we can provide you with water, but you need to carry that on you to make sure you're sufficient for what you need. I'm sensitive to the fact that it's quarter after 7:13. I'm almost through most of the items here, and then I will open up the floor for questions. Porta potties, you're going to run across some sections that might have actually our porta potties out there already, but they might have zip ties that are locked. All our bike marshals will have cutting device if necessary. We're also going to try to put we're working out the logistics to try to have a porta potty at the turnaround point. I can't promise, and I'll have that confirmation once we get to closer to race week. That was something that has brought up in the past. So again, this is an urban race, so please don't do your business in kind of like when you're in a trail race where you can go to everywhere is the bathroom, right? So we talked about all getting lost. Call me. I'm going to be your first point of contact. I think there's one team that is doing a 2-person relay, which is easy because then you just basically have one person do the first loop and then the second person do the second loop. If you have a 4-person, I do know that there are I've seen 3 teams at least that are doing the 4-person relays. Some of them are returned, so they know the drill. But your handoff is a half marathon, so you actually go out at a great highway and you're responsible for your own transportation, and also making sure that the runner inbound or the doing a handoff would actually have some dry clothes to change into. let's talk about course record. This is kind of cool. So I went through and dig out some of the numbers from the last couple of years, and you can see we have some, the male and female numbers age also change up quite a bit as well. And you'll see that the course record was held for almost 3 years by the same gentleman. And then Mike Wardian, which is a very famous runner, came in and check out the splits, the first lap and the second lap, 308 on both laps. And then last year in 2022, we have a gentleman that actually came in and pulled a 305 on the first lap and almost be able to pull it at the second lap. And he was also the same person that came into Saturday check-in and saying, what do you mean I have to sit for 4 hours before I can go back out again? But at 5 o'clock when I came into the room, he was a little tight. So bring rollers, foam rollers, anything, Theragun, compression boots, if you actually have them, anything that actually would help you recover in that short period and be comfortable before you can go back out again. And I'll talk about for first timers, what can you do? Like if I am actually stiffen up and things like that. So female record, this is even cooler. You can see the course record previously was 8:35, and then the winner on 2021 was 9 hours, but Allie came in and just shattered that by almost an hour and 20 minutes. Again, she pulled a 308 and a 333 on the second lap. So both course record, male and female, was taken down last year. So if you are looking to chase after the title, I know Joao is not coming this year because he was actually signed up for Angeles Crest 100 miles, which is the week after our race. So he's not going to be here. So course record is up for grab. Okay, we talked about that DNFing. DNF stands for do not finish. And if for whatever reason you need to drop, it's okay. You only have one body. You need to be kind and be reminded that the race will always be here. If it's not your day, be okay to step off that. And my first coach always had in part a saying to me that don't ever let your ego overrule good judgment, especially in the middle of something this big. And I like to think of DNF as did nothing foolish, as opposed to trying to muscle your way through. There's a pain level. I mean, you got to find discomfort no matter what at 52 miles on asphalt. But the point is, you need to actually ask yourself, hey, out of 1 to 10, is this a 7 or is this a 4? Right? Is this something that I am now every step? It's been going on for 2, 3, 4 hours, and it's just not getting better, and it's progressing, climbing on the pain scale. You need to actually make the decision whether this is going to create permanent injury or not. I know folks take ibuprofen, and again, we discourage that, particularly when you're actually going on for this long. Ibuprofen or any naproxen variant is bad news for your liver. And when you're going for that extensive of time and your first time, don't mask the pain, because if you pop a pill and now all of a sudden you don't feel it and you keep going, and something, because that you can't feel the pain, and you might actually potentially open yourself to more severe injury. I'm a very sentimental person, so savor the journey. And I say this because you only ever get one first, and this is for the first timers, and return vets will chime in. And no matter how epic the next time when you cross the 50-mile finish line, it will never be the same because you've never done it before. So your first time, you only get one of those. So take advantage of that, enjoy that experience, and especially when you're on the final mile coming in, take time, call your parents, let them know, they FaceTime them and saying, I am going to finish, and take selfies, do whatever you need. I'm going to be waiting for you, and then I'll definitely have a selfie with you at the finish line. Something else and if you never run for more than 12 hours before, and this is your first time, I got some advice. Hydration. If you're drinking just electrolyte, it's hard to gauge like how much electrolyte I have to drink before I actually catch up. Where you're going to start falling off the wagon, it's really when you actually get into like the 9, the 10, the 14 hours. When you actually get to the tail end, you've been sweating. Day 2 on Sunday, and on Sunday, by 10, 11, 12, it's going to get warm. And if you're slow and you're still coming in at 2 o'clock, you're going to be out there for a bit of time. So some of the things that I actually recommend are things like, S caps, or any kind of goo or hammer. Have these endurolites that are electrolyte supplements, so that you can actually take them. I like to, especially for nighttime when it's not very hot, I would do one every 90 minutes. But when you actually get warmer, I'll do one an hour, just to kind of keep myself on track with my electrolytes. Most of the people that actually, when they come into the finish in the last, since 2017, I've been working with this particular race, dehydration or under replenishing their salt level is the number. That's where they get cramps. That's when and if you're not used to that, reach out to me, give me a call. I'm happy to turn on, talk you through, and just kind of give you a little bit of talking, just to kind of help you out with what's the right balance, that kind of thing. Reach out to me. So we talked about the half a liter and 17 fluid ounce every 6 miles. That's a good number too. So if you find that, hey, when I hit the aid station at Presidio and I still have like your bottle is still like a third full, drink it before you get refilled. Then you have actually covered that 6 miles with the right amount of fluid. And especially the second day, if you find that, hey, it's now 70, 80 degrees for whatever reason, probably not going to get summer in San Francisco, will never get 80 degrees, but you never know. But if you start finding that, hey, in the second day, you might have to drink 1.5 of those bottles before you can actually keep at the right level. The second loop, arguably, you might want to consider a bladder. And the only reason for that is because if you know that, hey, I don't know the variable when I can't say after one marathon, I can finish the second marathon in 4 hours, 5 hours, and I might be tapping that 6, 7 hours for the second lap. You're going to be out there on your own, but you're also in the city. So stop by 7-Eleven, stop by a store and pick up extra water instead of carrying them. But that's also the option to consider. Is that, hey, if you know that you're going to need to be self-sufficient because you have a vest to carry extra food and gel, that's the other thing. You probably never actually eat gel for 12 hours. So think about that. Real food is actually going to be your friend. Sandwiches, extra beef jerky, dry fruit. Those are things that actually your stomach is used to. You have never eat gel for 10 hours in a row to sustain you as nutrition. So just be careful, and whether that's actually the only thing that you take in. In between the 2 laps, roll, do whatever stretches that you need to kind of be limber. I would suggest walk the first mile on the second lap, because you're going to be stiff, and it's going to be exciting. I know everybody's going to be trying to run out, and you're going to get rushed out with the excitement. Just your legs will tell you if you can't actually run, it's okay. Walk the first mile. Trust me, I've done multi-day events before. Once you walk the first mile, everything will loosen up and you'll be able to turn on, get moving, and start running again. Your race, start at mile 40. I kid you not. If this is your first race, whether it's 50, you've never done a 50K or you've done a 50K and the first time you're doing a 50 mile, your race start at mile 40, and nothing else matter before that. Run walk is your friend. 6.5 hours. It's 15-minute pace. So 30 strides, 30 easy shuffle, and then 30 quick power walk equal to 15-minute pace. And your second lap is basically as fast as you can go. And if you know your pace and you can finish in a quicker time, then you don't need this guide. But for the first timer, this is going to be very useful. The low and high, you're going to feel great some part of the race, and in some part of the race, you're going to feel awful, and you're going to wonder, why am I doing this? Dig deep, and we call it embrace the suck, because none of that is going to last forever. So long as you keep moving, you're making progress towards the finish line. All right, I'm going to leave that, but I'm going to be waiting for you, each and every one of you, and shake your hand. put a medal over your neck and take a photo right in front of the ferry building. So come find me and let's go have a great time. I'm going to open up the floor. Let me turn this. So let me see. Anybody have any questions? No questions. Awesome. Hand up maybe if you have any questions. Don't be shy. It's time to ask. This is the button for racing questions. Mueller, anyone?
The United States was Abraham Lincoln.
Okay, so that is my hour, and I actually finished 4 minutes ahead of schedule. Did we have a hand? Yes, Randolph. Go ahead.
Yeah, two questions. First one, the reflective vest.
Yes,
If
sir.
I have a Solomon vest and I add on reflective striping, does that work?
Questionable. So I mean, if you over completely decorate your vest, yes and no. I have to see. It's really hard. I know it's asking a lot because you're actually putting this over your vest, right? But this is way more reflective than, because every part of this have reflective lighting, and you can see I'm in a fairly dark room, and this is still picking up the brightness off my screen. But by the way, the official part of the presentation is I've completed that. So if you want to drop off because of dinner or time zones, welcome to do that, and I will keep the recording going for all the Q&As and then post that onto the Face group. So sorry, Randall, I would say, it's a judgment call. If you can actually make your Solomon pack glow in the dark and make it very visible, then yes. But I would prefer you actually have a vest over on top of your pack, if that's at all possible.
Okay, thank you. The second question has to do with the RunGo app.
Yes, sir.
It has a tracking possibility. Are you actually going to use that to track us? Or
no, because it's actually difficult for me to turn on, actually connect with each one of you on RunGo and then manage that. So I do not. We do actually have and in the runner's guide we talked about a live tracking app. Sorry, it's on the website, and I know we have a live tracking app that I can monitor all the runners out there. But that live tracking app is only for lap 2, but not on lap 1. So no, I will not be using the RunGo live tracking feature. Sorry.
Two other questions. Sid Sutton.
Sid, will I be allowed to have someone in the lobby with me? The lobby of the hotel? Absolutely. In fact, your friends and family live tracking app will be post soon. Thank you, Marie. Yes, your friends and family are welcome to hang out, especially on the first lap, to hang out in the lounge to wait for you and stay in communication from you. If you are, I will post this on a separate on the Facebook group. If you have a Garmin watch, Garmin has a free live tracking features that you can give to your loved ones, and basically all you do is your watch will pair with your phone and use the cell signal off your phone, and you're running an urban race, so you have cell signal everywhere that on lap 1 and 2. So the only downside is that it drains the battery on your watch and drains the battery on your phone. So just be aware of that. But you can actually use that live tracking feature to send a beacon to the people that you want to know where you are. So ladies, if you're worried about running at night and you want to give your significant others or anybody else that your significant others a way to track it and keep an eye out where you are, that's a great tool. I will post something on the Facebook group with tutorial videos and how to actually enable it. I use it all the time when I was doing my FKTs. So yes, since you are able to turn on, have someone in the lobby, or better yet, come to the Ultra Lounge and hang out there and wait for you, and give them my number if they have any questions, and I am available. I will not sleep until everybody's come back. So my phone will be available for all of you guys until everybody's accounted for. Will we be able to leave stuff, sleeping pad? Absolutely. In the room during the second lap. You guys can leave anything you want. We will have that room until the following day, until all the runners are back. So no worries about your stuff being vacated at all. The Ultra Lounge. Great. So that's anybody else? Any questions?
I just wanted to talk a little bit about the second loops. I'm Lori. So the reason you guys have to get back into, so the last wave of the first marathon officially goes off at 5:30 a.m. We're allowing 30 minutes of wiggle room for you guys. And the reason you need to get through there by 6 a.m. is because we have to get you off at the bridge. So the Golden Gate Bridge is sort of the choke point for all of this. So when you get back and you don't think you can make it by 6 p.m., you're better off dropping than trying to catch up. It's almost impossible at that point. So that's just something to really think about when you're out there. It's a hard cutoff for safety reasons and logistics on the Golden Gate Bridge.
Yeah, because if you start at 10 p.m., 10:15 p.m., by 6 a.m., you're almost at 8 hours mark. And so
Yeah.
to do 8 hours, to do your first marathon in 8 hours, which means you probably won't have legs to catch up to the very back of the pack of the second loop. So just that's the reason.
So your question about the second loop start corrals, those corrals, when you come back from your first loop, if you're back by 5:15, before 5:15 a.m., you can jump into the first corral behind the elites. So the elites go off first, but if you want to start right after the elites and you're ready, you can jump in then. And then from there, you can jump in anytime as those corrals go out up until 6 a.m.
I would just add to that, just a double-edged sword. You can jump in right after the elites runner, but bear in mind the first wave after the elite runners probably going to be pushing out pretty fast. So you might want to stay on the side without getting trampled over. But yes.
Yeah, and the corrals for the second loop all have race day pacers. So if you come back and you jump into one of those corrals, you can find your pace group and stay with that pacer. So all of our race day pacers, there's 3 in each pace group. So you'll be able to identify them and you can follow them out as well. If you're in this to win, yeah, jump in that first wave and go for it. I think so.
Are they the Pacers have a little stick with a sign number on that holding as well, so you can easily identify them in the crowd.
Yeah, so each pacer has a sign with the pace time and the estimated finish time.
Excellent. Hey, Mohammed, go ahead.
So yeah, I just want to share something about the pacing. Last year, I said, okay, I'll stay in the lounge as much as I can to recover as much as I can, and then I went with the last wave, and that was extremely slow for me. So for the first hour and a half in the second marathon, I was running into people. So make your calculations pretty well and stick to the pace and the race pace that you will like.
Thanks. Anyone else? Any other questions?
Just one more thing about the second loop, since that's my specialty here. The first water stop on the second loop will be manned by volunteers. However, it's staffed a little lightly since it's the first stop for the folks that are starting the marathon that morning. So if you can, when you get to your corral to leave, come with a water bottle filled. There's a filling station at the start line, so you can use that. It's a giant water monster with spigots, and you can fill your vessel. That would be my only recommendation to you. That first water stop might be a little either congested, or the cups may not be out on the table, or there may not be volunteers handing you cups. So just be prepared for that.
And we'll probably have water in the lounge as well, so you can also top up before you head down to the start line.
Yeah, the water's there at that first water stop, as well as noon electrolyte is at every single water stop on course, and then there's 2 gel stations. So the water's there, the noon is there, the service may be slightly different. That stop is really, really hard to staff because of the really early start time. So we backed off a little bit on that water stop.
And Lori, just to be clear, that first stop is at what location? What mileage?
I think it's at like mile 2. I'd have to look at the map, but that's my recollection.
Yeah.
Somewhere right around there. Before you get to or it's either at Aquatic Park or just before you get there. I can't remember which.
Okay.
Yeah.
Aquatic Parks from Ferry Building is about 1.5 miles. So yeah.
Yeah.
Awesome. Any other last questions before we wrap up? Okay, thank you for attending. We appreciate it. We look forward to seeing you on race day, and please come by and say hello and make sure that you introduce yourself, and we will look forward to having a great race with you all.
Oh wait, one more thing. At the expo, you guys have your own booth. I don't know if Michael covered that, but
yes. Oh, I'm sorry. Myself and Kendall would actually be on site on Friday and Saturday, and answering any questions, handing out bibs. So if you want to come chat, that's also a good place to come find us.
yeah, so you'll pick up your Ultramarathon shirt and your bib at the Ultra table, and then you get the additional regular shirt. You would pick that up at the regular shirt pickup area. So you get 2 shirts at the expo, 1 bib.
Yeah, we went through those, gave them kind of like a sneak preview.
Yeah. Yeah,
so
the Ultramarathon is sponsored by Chargel. Chargel is the on-course nutrition. And then, so that's the Ultra shirt, and that's the shirt everybody else gets. So everybody in the event, doesn't matter what distance, gets this shirt this year. And you guys get a blue one.
Woohoo.
Also. Yeah.
All right, guys. Thank you. Have a good evening. And
Thanks, Michael.
Yeah, absolutely. And I would go ahead and upload the recording to the Facebook group afterwards. Have a good night. Take care. I should, before I do that, stop the recording.